Thank you for tuning in to RN Homesteading. I'm Nemesis,
And I'm Rianne.
and today we are going to be going over
How to process green beans from your garden so that they can be frozen.
let's dig in.
Alright, so I'm already partway through this. We grew two different types of green beans. We grew these are bush beans, by the way. We tried growing the ones that go up the string, or pole beans. Yeah. Our three sisters rather failed last year. Anyway, so these are your normal green beans that we grew. And these are the Italian flat green beans, and they're called Hercules? No. What were they called?
They are the Hulk beans.
The Hulk beans. Okay. The Hulk. Green Hulk. Okay. Yeah. Anyway. So I had a couple of these pulled aside. One, this accidentally got mixed in there. But I pull some of the ones, like this one's kind of yellow. I've pulled it off to the side so that they can dry out and we can use the seeds inside for our next crop. So put those aside.
Now, if you were wanting to do it now, wouldn't you want to let them ripen more on the plant versus pulling them like that? Are you sure that those have fully mature seeds in there that are viable for the following year?
I'm not positive about this one because it's still, because these are super green, but these ones that are turning yellow, yes. If you leave them on the plant and they're even turning brown, that's fine. Anything that you've got that's been left on the plant because you're like, oh crap, I forgot to harvest. Yeah, all of those are viable seeds for next year. I just make sure that I dry them out all the way before I seal them up. Okay, so I've already somewhat processed some of this. I've put all my beans into the colander, washed them off, and now I'm in the process of cutting off the ends and cutting these to be the size that I would like them to be. They are going to go into a pot of boiling hot water, which I need to get going.
Probably should have started that.
Oh, are you kidding? By the time for all the time it takes to do all this. Alright, stop rocking.
When this pot's a rockin', don't come a knockin'.
Please. We have no AC in our house, so yeah, everything, because of the humidity, that's a guess.
No, why did you put that in?
Okay, so I put in probably a rounded teaspoonful of salt. I'm adding it to the water. For one thing, it just kind of helps to heat up the water a little bit to a hotter temperature, but it'll also help to blanch the beans a little bit better, and it brings out the color in them more. Where's this going? So whenever it comes down to processing your beans, all you need to do is take a group of them, you line them up, cut off the tips. I put everything that's a waste to the side to either feed our worms or it goes in the compost. I can't give these to the chickens because I think it's called lectin. There's something in raw green beans that will kill your chickens. So don't give raw green beans to your chickens or any raw beans. It did say that you can feed them, but they have to be well cooked and no spices whatsoever. So we won't give that to them. They get a lot of other stuff. So all I'm doing is each time I'm lining up the ends, cutting the tips off, cutting them to about the size I'd like them to be. It gets to be boring, but it's not too bad compared to processing carrots. That was, yeah. Try to make little itty bitty diced carrots.
Now, what happens if somebody wanted to do the diced carrots? Can they just process them a little bigger and then dice them later if that's what they wanted to do?
No, it's easier because what you're doing to vegetables that you're freezing, you don't want to cook them and then freeze them because the freezer will put little tiny ice crystals inside of all your foods, and whenever they unthaw, they're softer than what they originally were. So with the carrots, anytime I find a spot, I just throw it away. With the carrots, it's just easier to make them into what you want them to be because all you're doing is blanching, which is boiling them in salted water for 2, maybe 3 minutes.
What happens if somebody didn't know what size they wanted? Could they just do it as big pieces, and then do the final sizing whenever they're making whatever meal they're making?
I'm not sure, but if I'm using a frozen vegetable, I'm usually steaming them, or I'm not processing frozen vegetables. You would have to unthaw it in order to be able to process it. The nice thing about a frozen vegetable is you can just throw it into whatever you need, like soups or whatever.
So then you would already have decided what general purpose.
Yeah, if I was going to process something like that, I would rather do it from fresh or raw. Alright, we now have everything cut up to the size we want. Our salted water is boiling. So now I'm going to say a little prayer. I didn't put too much water in here. You want to kind of gently put them in, otherwise you get splashed.
What does 212 degree temperature water do to the body?
Burns
if it accidentally splashes on you, you're not going to have a good time.
Give those a little stir. I want to make sure that they have come. I want to make sure that they have come back to a boil before I start my timer. In the meantime, I'm going to throw all my little cuttings into this baggie. And this type of thing we put in the freezer, and then my husband defrosts it whenever he feeds the worms. I don't think we've ever given them green beans before.
No, this will be the first time.
Yeah. I tell you what, the pumpkins was very entertaining. We put chunks of pumpkin in there with the seeds, and you open up the worm thing, like, 2 weeks later, and we had pumpkin plants growing everywhere. Okay, so now I can see bubbles rising up. Now I'm going to start my timer for 2 minutes. And we'll let those boil for 2 minutes. You could do 2 to 3 minutes. And what you want to do is kind of think about the size of what it is that you're processing. All you're really trying to do is just tenderize the outside of what you have. Okay, so I added an extra minute because they were just starting to get this brighter green color, and I wanted to make sure that that color kind of came out a lot more. Whenever you're cooking your green beans, normally they will turn more green, but I think it's so pretty. All right, so now that we're done boiling them, I'm going to bring them over to the sink. And I guess I can just dump this one. I was using the water before.
Alright, we need ice.
Now no, give me the bag.
Alright, here you go.
And then you're gonna dump them into an ice bath. One big chunk. So like this huge chunk of ice that I can't seem to get to break up, I usually like to kind of bring some of the ice up closer to the top to submerge them a little better. But while they're sitting there in the ice, I'm going to get my parchment paper ready on my baking sheet. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to lay those beans after they've been drained again onto this baking sheet, and the parchment paper is there so that it won't freeze to the baking sheet, and you're going to put them in the freezer on here to dry single so they're not all just coagulated together in one big frozen chunk. It's probably the best way to put it. Since your beans were so hot, the main thing with the ice bath is you just are looking at it stopping the cooking process. They don't have to be absolutely cold when you pull them back out. I'm doing it with my hands because sometimes there's chunks of ice and I want to be able to feel that, so I don't leave a chunk of ice in there.
Why is that bad?
Because it would melt and cause it to all stick together again, which is the number one thing I'm trying to avoid. So I'm trying to get these laid out as much in a single layer as possible. And I'm not being that picky. I take a clean towel, go over the top, just to blot out some of that excess water. I'm not really squeezing, I'm just patting. Okay, so these are ready to go into the freezer. I would say about half an hour, although often I've forgotten mine. But at least enough that they're frozen enough, separated, that you can then place them into your freezer bags. Or we have a, I think it's called a press and seal or food saver system that we're gonna vacuum seal our frozen stuff in, because we can make smaller bags. All right.
Use what you got.
Yep. So into the freezer we go.
Hi ho, hi ho.
You're not gonna actually film me putting this in there and taking the other out. Okay. This is going to be very awkward.
Yeah, because I'm gonna come up on this. That's why I can't. I'm trying to come in first.
Kind of blocking most of my light. So, this is the other tray of green beans that I've processed. So I'm just going to switch these out. Check these. Ooh, you know what? These need to sit longer.
Double stack them.
It won't shut. It will not shut.
Oh, and then we'll have to put it in the other freezer.
These don't have to go in the freezer right away. But, oh, you know what though? Let me see if I can get them in here.
That's what I was saying. Like, see if you can get them in here. I bet you it'll fit. Yeah, the top, it'll fit 100%.
Alright.
The joy of processing food is freezer space. Especially when your garden is trying to be as productive as ours.
Look at that. We now have our frozen green beans. And they easily separate from each other. My favorite part about the parchment paper is you can go like this and then they get all nice and loose. Now it's time to put them into our bags.
Now, like we were saying before, we have a food saver, but if you don't have a food saver, just get yourself like a Ziploc bag, put them in there.
It has to be a freezer bag.
But yeah, get a freezer Ziploc bag, and you can do the same thing. We've had this for like camping purposes and stuff like that, so we use this all the time. And this is just another great way to be able to use this. And with the food saver, because we're able to suck the air out of it, you have a less of a chance of freezer burn with less oxygen around whatever you're trying to preserve. So just kind of keep that in mind. There's pros and cons with everything. This is expensive. Freezer bags are less expensive. Pick and choose your battles, people. So we're going to go ahead and get this going. I'll probably end up just putting this onto time lapse because this is going to get noisy and it will blow your guys' eardrums off. So we're going to start that up right now. So it doesn't take that long, and then you're going to cut these to be big enough to fit, probably like a can's worth. So this might be like four sections if we wanted to, or we can do it in the 2 sections, depending on how you want to do it.
about these being flat is it helps to save freezer space instead of it being all bulky is probably the best word. So I hope you enjoyed today's video on how to process your garden green beans to keep them in the freezer. And I hope you join us again next time. I'm Rianne from RN Homesteading, and may your thumbs
Thumbs always be green.